I can't really look back at any of Joe Biden's State of the Unions in the back of my head. And I mean this honestly. I'm not saying this is just someone who clearly has maybe, I guess you'd say, a more support for a lot of the things that President Trump's talking about. I don't think of those big moments. But for President Trump's, I think back at the Tuskegee Airmen. I think back at Rush Limbaugh. I can have moments that I can recall from his State of the Union addresses, from his moments where he was addressing the nation and addressing Congress. He did that again.
DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Moments that stick with you forever, a memorable moment. Of course, you flip on the coverage after and you assume you're going to hear people discuss, maybe they don't like the DOGE talk. They don't like some of the things that he said. Of course, you have people on the other side, and that's fine. But Nicolle Wallace on MSNBC just shortly after.
He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
I don't say this lightly. This was a truly disgusting moment coming from MSNBC. Taking this real sweet moment, one of the few non-political moments that maybe happened that night. And look, I'd say President Trump, it's not like he even specifically said, I realize that I'm not going to win over Democrats in this. They're not going to cheer me even for something like this. And you could see very few stood up, very few even cheered for DJ. However, Nicolle Wallace goes on, and she not only wants to make a spectacle out of it and bring herself into it, says that, yeah, though she hopes he lives, of course, she hopes he lives a long life. She also hopes that he isn't one of the ones who ends up committing suicide due to President Trump's supporters storming the Capitol. This is, again, a kid who had 5 months to live and has beaten those odds. But, of course, you have MSNBC, which, again, I've said is really a vile part of the Universal Xfinity NBC platform. It makes no sense why it is in their portfolio, why you would even have this incredibly disturbing leftist group. It's not just a left-leaning network. It's not even CNN. It is getting to the point where you can't even have humanity for a small child, a 13-year-old child who has fought and beat brain cancer over and over again, who's still fighting, who has then been deputized because he just wants to be a police officer when he grows up, and then President Trump does a fun moment and lets him become a Secret Service. You could see the emotion on his face.
My mom bathes me and my brothers all together, and out of nowhere I locked up, and then my dad was calling my name, and I started going to the slow thing, and he said, "Stop playing with me." And I started to act, I ain't gonna lie, I started to act slow, and then as soon as he said that, we was speeding all the way, running lights, going to the hospital, and then next thing you know, I was seizing on the table. They said, "No, we gonna have to go in his brain tonight." Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They had 5 months to live. I'm gonna keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's gonna call you home. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my dad. And I know he's pretty proud of me, and I'm pretty proud of him too. And I'd like to thank President Trump, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today.
That last sentence was enough to make sure that the left media decided we have to disqualify DJ Daniel. He can't be someone that we all look up to, find a positive moment out of. We have to politicize it, and we have to take a beautiful moment and decide to not only politicize it, but really make it into a disgusting spectacle.
Don't let the left tell you that it is conservatives and Trump supporters that are dividing this country. Because when you see, after a beautiful moment, And every president does those. Every president during a joint address to Congress or a speech before them, whether it be the State of the Union or otherwise, brings guests and highlights them. And many times it goes along with policies that they also want to support. And you know what the policy was here? They believe that this child's cancer was started from exposure to toxins. And he then went on to say is that we are going to look at getting these toxins out of our environment so that we can combat childhood cancer from exposure to things that cause that. And then the left decides that now it's fair game because President Trump brought him up there and did a beautiful moment. It's despicable. Like it shocks your soul when you see that people are so heartless, so deranged against President Trump that they could have just left it alone. They didn't have to say anything about the moment.
I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
You'd think, this is going to be 50-50, just like the country. Maybe less, because who's watching some of these networks that are doing the polling?
Right, and especially a lot of it was him just talking about what they've done the first month. So
Which is controversial.
It's controversial. Well, at least that's what they'll have you believe. But here's the reality of that. It actually isn't that controversial. CBS News, no fan of President Trump. 76% of Trump's speech watchers approved of it. Only 23 disapproved. CNN, their poll, 69% positive about the speech, only 31% negative. Don't believe what they tell you when they say that it's dividing the country, because the ones that are dividing the country are the ones who will make disgusting commentary about a childhood cancer survivor and someone who's still fighting that out.
They don't stand for the other side. And that has become fairly normal, that you don't see a lot of support, but maybe not to this extent.
That's where they showed how morally bankrupt they've become, is that Trump derangement syndrome, as people like to call it, has so infected their minds and their ideology that when you hear these tragic stories, you can't even give those people respect for being there, whether it be the mother of a child who was killed by illegal immigrants, or it was the family of Laken Riley. They were there and they were strong and bold, and the Democrats mostly sat.